stated in a bill by Del Benning in a different bill, is over a 9-year period, 80,000 Muslim men and boys in the United States were tracked based solely off of their religion. According to Clara Long from the Human Rights Watch Immigration Department, 14,000 of these men were deported and 300 were detained during that 9-year period. The program was dismantled in 2011, but it wasn't actually done away with until 2016 by the Obama administration, after it was proved to be entirely ineffective, as that 80,000 men tracking system resulted in 0 terrorist convictions. Then moving on to the presidential campaign. In response to the Paris attacks and San Bernardino attacks in 2015, President Trump, at the time just a candidate for the presidency, on his website said that a complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States would be necessary while the United States government figured out how to approach this issue of national security. This is where my bill comes in, and it was in response to that. H.R. 6382, the No Religious Registry Act, came into being on November 18th when it was introduced to the House of Representatives. On December 5th, it was referred to the Subcommittee of Immigration and Border Security, where it stayed. It had 70 co-sponsors, as stated by the Congress website. What this does is it prohibits the establishment of a database or a registry based solely off of religion for people already in the United States or people seeking refuge here from other countries. This leads into something that may sound familiar, the President's Executive Order 13769. It's in opposition to this opposition of religious registry. As according to the White House website, this suspends the refugee program for 120 days, and it indefinitely suspends the Syrian refugee program. This bans entry of individuals from 7 Muslim-majority countries for 90 days, and also reduces the number of refugees allowed into the country by 60,000 human beings. In a recent report by the First Post web staff, just from March 6th, this executive order was replaced after being stuck by the courts and denied. It was replaced by 13780, and what this did was remove Iraq from the report of the 7 countries who were banned, and it also adjusted certain other aspects of this order to make it more agreeable with courts and with the public. This leads into one final status quo point in accordance with this bill, and that is H.R. 489, the National Religious Registry Act of 2017. It reiterates everything that my bill states, but on February 5th, just as the original bill was, it was moved to the Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security, where it stayed, according to the Congress site. I reiterate President Trump's order, even though it's not my topic, in so much detail because it's not capable to say that the United States doesn't have a problem with terrorism, as other places. The problem does exist, as shown by San Bernardino attacks as well as Orlando attacks, and even Paris. And it's also not explicitly unconstitutional, as according to the Cornell website, the First Amendment and the executive order does not restrict practice of religion freely, it doesn't restrict any religion, and it also doesn't promote a specific one. It's not specifically stated to be a Muslim ban, but it directly affects Muslims, and that's where the problem is, because that promotes an era of discrimination. Though it's not directly unconstitutional, neither was the NSEERS program for the 9 years that it was in effect but ineffective of preventing terrorism. H.R. 6302, the No Religious Registry Act, provides protections not resulting from the executive orders. Terrorism in the United States is oversimplified. Every year, the FBI releases statistics on hate crimes within our borders. 19.7% of hate crimes are done with a religious bias. Only 1.3% of these are directed at Christians, and only 4.3% are directed at Catholics. The rest are the 21.9% directed at Muslims, and the 52.1% directed at those of the Jewish faith. H.R. 6382 protects those who have dealt with alienation. Many may have heard of Asghar Farhadi from the Oscars. Thomas Erdbrink in a New York Times article describes the ordeal. Asghar Farhadi was nominated nominated for Best Foreign Film, and he won for his film The Salesman. But earlier, he had been banned entry into the United States, and though he was later allowed in, he denied coming in respect of those nations that were where these immigration bans first instated. It shows in Aline Khan, who Daniel Burke described in a CNN article as having wrote a letter to Obama where she said that she's an American, she grew up here, she said the pledge every day, and yet she's Muslim. She fasts during Ramadan, she celebrates Eid, and she reads the Quran. And every day she experiences something that makes her feel like she's not American and that she doesn't belong. It's shown in multiple others who wrote letters to President Obama, as shown in the White House archives, talking about what it's like to be a Muslim in America and want to be here, but not feel like they're allowed. And I have copies of those letters there for you guys to take if you would like. There's an overgeneralization and misrepresentation of terrorism in the United States that this bill addresses. Merriam-Webster defines terrorism as systematic use of terror and coercion, but it can be homegrown too. It doesn't just come wearing a hijab, a burqa, a keffiyeh, or a turban. It is shown in February 22nd, 2017, in Awante, Kansas, when Adam Farrington, according to a CNN result and witness reports, went into a bar and shot two Indian engineers and yelled, "Get out of my country." It is shown in that 73% reported by the FBI website of people who were targeted just because they belonged to Jewish or Muslim faith. It is shown in the 81.3% of crimes that are committed on people who are not white within the United States. It is shown in the need for art, like Shepard Fairey's. Some of you may have seen this one before. It was done in 2009 in response to President Obama being elected. He said that that was a representation of hope. These are the images that he was prompted to create this year for the Women's March and in response to the election. It represents the different levels of diversity in the United States that are often not actually represented. President Trump's orders are not necessarily unconstitutional, but they're not necessarily accepting of individuals either, and they do not promote the United States' undemocratic values. The No Religious Registry does this, and though 6382 and 489 both have had no further movements on them, bills like them should be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.